Hi, I'm Dan Weller. I'm a master's candidate in the Bohr-Wiedemann Food Safety Laboratory. And I'm going to kind of give a brief overview of my lab's efforts to integrate GIS science with food safety, which is kind of novel. Not too many people use it, so a lot of this will seem kind of elementary, but for our field, it's really new. How do you get to go forward?
I go for that button right there.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so the big thing to notice is over the past 20 years, there's been a dramatic increase in the number of food-borne outbreaks that have been traced back to the produce production environment. So this has created a lot of interest on the part of industry, growers, and policymakers on, okay, how do you determine risk of produce contamination in the produce production environment? How do you prevent that? And so recently they passed the Food Safety Modernization Act, so now there's a call. So they're passing science-based regulations without any science to back them up. So now we need to produce the science to back up these regulations or change them. So there's intrinsic issues with developing those because there's so many factors that affect the risk of contamination. There's meteorological factors, there's wildlife intrusion, there's environmental factors, there's landscape factors, and there's management practices. That's just a few of them. In addition to that, these all vary between farms, between regions, and within farms, and sometimes within fields. So the traditional statistics we would use in food safety just wouldn't be able to address all this. It doesn't take any type of spatial explosive data into account. So our lab was unique in that we had a postdoc come in and a PhD student come in about 6 years ago, who both had some experience with GIS. And we kind of started with just mapping the distribution of pathogen subtypes within different farms and regions. And once these two came in, they decided to kind of take some of the traditional statistics approaches we would use in food safety, one of which is, the main one we use is classification and regression trees, which is, again, kind of a standard thing, but still novel for us. And what they did is they basically extracted values from GIS and basically said, okay, they calculate the risk based on these classification regression trees. They turn these into geospatial algorithms that would then put into spatial model builder in ArcGIS. And you got these individualized risk maps for different fields. So you can say, let's say this space has a 45% risk of having your produce be contaminated versus a 10% risk over here. So what I'm doing now is I'm validating these maps, and I'm saying, okay, these are what the maps are. We're going to try to refine them. And then I'm hopefully, if I can in the next 9 months, redo all that, turn it into an app, or now that I hear about ArcGIS Online that we can make available to individual growers to kind of alter their agricultural practices to really reduce the risk. And as part of that, I'm also trying to say, well, that gets at the field level, so what about the within field level? Because there does appear, based on some preliminary analysis we did based on last summer, there really does seem to be clustering in fields. So really, instead of saying this field you should plant this field you should plant this, or alter your agricultural practices, that's really within field you should do this. And that was my last slide, so yeah. And these are all the people that did all the research in the past 7 years for my lab.